Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome back. This is the Windup, SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly college baseball show. We are here recapping everything that went down in the midweek, as well as looking ahead to weekend number 9 in conference play, the second to last weekend of the regular season, if you can believe that. And we have got some all-out battles on slate. We're going to preview, predict the entire upcoming slate. I am Chris Phillips. He is Harrison Fant. Guys, again, we appreciate you all tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast where we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we're powered by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $200 in bonus bets today. This is the Windup, SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly college baseball show. We are here on this Thursday, May the 8th, recapping everything that went down in the midweek, as well as looking ahead to a jam-packed weekend number 9 in the SEC on the diamond. We have got a loaded slate, the second to last weekend of the regular season. Postseason baseball is just around the corner, guys. As always, I'm Chris Phillips. I'm joined by my co-host, my colleague, my partner in crime, Harrison Fant, joins us once again. Harrison, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time. Crazy to think we are nearly at the end of this thing we call the regular season, but man, we have got one doozy of a slate upon us this upcoming weekend.
The finish line of the regular season, that is inching closer and closer, Chris. But there's 2 very important weeks I think we have left for a lot of teams: momentum, health, and just playing your best ball, honestly. And a lot of teams, focused on that and in the regular season strong and getting ready for Hoover, because honestly, I mean, we've been hitting the ground running all season long, and it's not going to slow down anytime soon, not until July.
Yeah, I mean, we say it every single weekend, Harrison, so not to sound like a broken record about how great the slate is, how it never disappoints, but it really is truly the reality. And, to your point, I think you make a great point that there is still a lot of work to be done for many teams out there, especially when you look at the implications of these series we're going to talk about in a second. I mean, Harrison, I'd probably say there's 4 teams right now that I think are fighting for that final hosting spot that the SEC is probably going to get. Heck, we've got 3 teams that we talked about last week that are still fighting just for their postseason lives as a whole and trying to stack their resume. We got others fighting for the number 1 overall national seed or just to be a top 8 national seed in general. And, of course, you want to build momentum and you want to start playing your best baseball getting into this time of year and obviously throughout the end of this month and into June. So, again, lots on the line, lots to get into, Harrison. Before we do, let's take a look back at the midweek because we did have some notable results. Probably most notably, Alabama. Harrison, they did not get the memo that they were on upset alert or that they should have lost to Troy on Tuesday night because they went in there and put belt to ass in a really impressive outing against Skylar Meade's club. Other results, there weren't a ton of games. Tennessee run-ruled Indiana State. We did have 3 SEC teams lose. Florida to USF, Vandy to Louisville in a 1-run game, and Mizzou losing to Kansas. Shocker. And Texas. Close game. Give them credit. And then Texas handling Lamar on their home field. Harrison, your thoughts on the midweek? By the way, I do want to point out, because I'm sure you're going to go to Bama-Troy first, which wasn't a bad call by you. Bama just showed up and played really good baseball. And I guess we should have expected it, Harrison, because Alabama, congratulations to the Crimson Tide. The first time in school history they go undefeated in the midweek, a perfect 13-0 on the 2025 season. They are done with their midweeks. I think there's a few that have midweeks next week, but a lot of people don't. Bama's won 13-0 in the midweek. Really
That's
impressive.
Tough to do.
That's impressive.
Midweeks matter.
With the randomness of college baseball, that is, and they played some good teams. They played Southern Miss a few times. They played UAB. Obviously Troy twice, I think. So, yeah, 13-0 in the midweek. Really impressive for Rob Vaughn's club. And they closed out the midweek about as impressively as you could have with that win over Troy on the road.
I'm trying to think whether they played Troy early this season, too, and beat them 3-1. I know that.
It was a close game. Yeah, it was a good game.
South Alabama, another good team. They beat them in extras, too.
Yeah.
I think that game was home. They walked them off in extras. Southern Miss, like you said, UAB. Samford, another good win, I think, there for mid-major. Yeah, that's impressive to do. I don't know how many teams in the SEC do that year after year.
It's interesting with the midweek, Harrison, because midweeks do matter. I mean, we've seen national championship teams that have gone undefeated in midweek. We've seen some that, like an LSU this season losing to Northwestern State. I don't think it's a perfect science by any means, but yeah, I mean, it's something to hang your hat on, no doubt. With the teams they played, it's something to hang your hat on. So, no, they were really impressive. I think that's a good momentum building win for what they've got coming this weekend. The other one most notable, because I know you made a comment about it, Harrison, was Florida losing midweeks. I will say this about Florida. We'll talk about this more in a second when we preview the series. This is a really banged-up Gators team, and talking to folks down there, they didn't get home from Columbia, South Carolina. And I'm not saying this is an excuse, whatever, but they didn't get home until Monday morning at like 3 a.m. from Columbia because it's a 7-hour trip, and they drove.
Yeah.
So I think their feeling was maybe the guys a little bit tired, exhausted, whatever. I mean, Florida's been playing great baseball of late, so I don't think you look at that midweek and say the sky is falling again. But yeah, USF took it to them. Vandy Louisville, that's a very underrated rivalry. I will tell you this. This is a total side note. I had a buddy in college that ended up transferring, played at Louisville, and he talked about how big of a rivalry that was because of the whole whiskey versus bourbon thing. Because Louisville, like right there in the heart, right? Like they're in Tennessee, it's whiskey, in Kentucky.
Kentucky, it's bourbon.
So it's
Yep, I've been on the bourbon trail, so I know firsthand.
whiskey bourbon battle. I don't know because I don't know if you knew this. Louisville's locker room is sponsored by Maker's Mark. At least it was. It was when he was there.
Cool.
It was when he was there. So, it's deep rooted in the cultures. I don't know if they really, in the midweek, they're like, we're battling for the pride of bourbon or whiskey, but that was just something he mentioned to me. Yeah, outside of that.
No, I mean, I look at those two big ones, Louisville and Vanderbilt, since we're on it right now. I mean, I thought it was just interesting that, Louisville went just basically a whole bullpen game with it. I mean, Colton Hartman started the game and only went to 1.2 innings, so an inning and 2/3, which he was the guy who went the longest for them. After that, it was one inning all the way down. But I thought, Vanderbilt doing kind of a more traditional, start with Austin Nye, and I thought he looked really good. I mean, separating 2 hits, over 5 innings with 2 earned runs. I mean, that's a quality start in the midweek for sure. And then, Ethan McElvin just continues to have his, his struggles. And I think in situations that you feel like he would be more successful in, but beyond that, it was just kind of, Louisville just, I don't want to say out hitting, but, taking advantage of opportunities and just timely hitting. Vanderbilt had 3 errors. I think that was part of, a big reason to kind of just, I mean, it's tough, and I think these midweek games, like Louisville's a really good ball club too. Don't get that mistaken. I mean, they're a top 25 ball club, and I think they're going to be a tough postseason team to play, but, they just had more, base hits with guys in scoring position. That's as simple as it comes down to, and I mean, honestly, so did Alabama, but they had a lot more of them than Troy. I mean, Troy still had 8 hits, which I think is obviously a really good factor, but I mean, it only resulted in 2 runs, one of them being in the 9th inning. But I mean, it really just started. It felt like the tone was set in the first inning for Alabama. Obviously, they put up a 4 spot in the first, but just Justin LeBron, just a home run to left on on a 2-1 pitch. I mean, it just really set the tone for just, hey, like, we're coming in here with authority, and then after that, just scored more runs in the first, and then Snell homer in the second, and then single in the fourth. I mean, it just felt like they were just putting, and you like to say, but I thought they were just pounding the ball, just mashing the ball, went in there, like I said, with authority, and just took care of business. And, I think it was really good for them, especially rolling into this weekend series against Georgia, and a huge series that they're going to, welcome them into was it Sewell Thomas Stadium?
Sewell Thomas.
Okay. I know if I was at it forward backwards, but yeah. And JT Black looked really good, I thought too. And, Finateri got hit around a little bit, but, didn't allow too much damage. But I mean, they managed the bullpen well after that with, Austin Morris looked really sharp, really clean, but, just took care of business and was really led by the offensive, which I think it should be led by the offense in midweek games. And, Justin LeBron really, I think, took it personal and under his wing to do so in this game. And then, Kate Snell as well with 5 RBIs. So huge night for him.
And it all sets up, Harrison, to what is going to be an electric weekend. As, again, we've got 2 remaining teams putting the finishing touches on their postseason resumes. Guys, we're going to break down weekend number 9 in conference play. Before we do, want to tell you about our friends once again over at FanDuel, because, as always, we're brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The wait is over. Baseball season's finally here, and you can start the season strong on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now FanDuel is celebrating the return of baseball by giving new customers $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to get in on the action, from hits to steals to home runs. They got a lineup filled with all of your favorite bets. Or if pitching's more of your thing, FanDuel has a deep bullpen of bets from strikeouts to shutout innings. So when you place your first bet, it can be on almost anything, and if it hits, you'll get $250 in bonus bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official partners of Major League Baseball. Must be 21 and up and present in select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and up and present in D.C. First online, real money wager only, $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Harrison, let's get into the weekend. Conference weekend number 9, the second to last weekend of the regular season. And we will start with the lone Thursday through Saturday series, which, by the way, I don't believe the Thursday game was on national TV before this. It has been moved to ESPN2. So we got some SEC baseball tonight on a big channel.
Hey, and of all teams.
And of all series, I don't know if maybe before the season they thought this one might be a little bit better. But either way, the Auburn Tigers welcome South Carolina to the Plains. These two teams will do battle down there at Plainsman Park. And Harrison, when you look at this series, we don't have to spend a ton of time here. I wonder how much fight do the Gamecocks have left from their perspective? Like, I don't think anybody's going this weekend thinking anything other than Auburn's the better team. It's the question of, are they going to win the series 2-3, or are they going to sweep? I think that's the big question. What does South Carolina have left in the tank? They're obviously turning to Brandon Stone, Jake McCoy, games 1-2, their TBA game 3. There is no Ethan Petrie. We just saw them come off of last weekend at home, get absolutely embarrassed, and all the rumors about Paul Maneri and what's going to happen with him. And I've seen some stuff on social media this week. It's the turmoil has just continued, right? They're at that point in the season. Season's over. Pride really has to kick in for that group, because you're really just not playing for much of anything else. On the Auburn side, talk about big momentum, coming off taking 2 of 3 at Tennessee, continuing to fight for not just that hosting bid, which I think, I feel pretty good saying that right now Auburn is going to be a regional host, maybe top 8 national seed. I mean, they'd have to finish pretty strong, but you got 3 this weekend that you could win and get out ahead of it. So, Harrison, your thoughts on this one? Auburn, South Carolina. I mean, I think I know the direction you're going. Sam Dutton, Cade Fisher, Ike Irish, Cooper McMurray, Derek Fabian, and the boys looking for a big weekend down in the Plains. What say you?
Yeah, a big weekend down in the Plains, it will in fact happen for Auburn. And I think it's because of how much more talented and just complete they are in all facets of the game. Starting pitching, bullpen, offensive lineup 1 through 9, and production out of it. And it's one of those things that, they went into Tennessee and up in Knoxville. And like I put out on Twitter, overcame weather delays, umpires, and punched Tennessee in the mouth. A very talented Tennessee team that's struggling right now and bleeding out, but they went and did that on the road in the SEC against a team that I think most people would say Tennessee's a more talented team, like ceiling-wise, than Auburn. And for Auburn to, come back home and, get to play the comfort and, in front of their fans in Plainsman Park, I think they go out in the field and take care of business, Chris, in all facets of the game again, behind another really strong start from Sam Dutton, and set the tone for it. And then I think guys supporting cast kind of around Ike Irish and Cooper McMurray have really strong games. And I think you get more production at the bottom of the lineup this series. And I think Auburn definitely takes 2 or 3 with an opportunity to sweep on Sunday.
On Saturday, but I know what you mean. Those Thursday through Saturday.
This is why I don't like those Thursday games. You know how I feel, but it's weird, especially when you have midweeks and stuff. Like,
I know.
But it's just they're like I said, they're better in all facets of the game. I mean, I think they're more consistent. Especially they have a higher floor of consistency than South Carolina. I think a lot of teams in the SEC do, obviously, but I just like the consistency that Auburn plays with week in and week out. And, you know, they're not playing like the best team in the country or best team in the SEC and then playing like a middle of the pack SEC team. They're, you know, playing like a middle of the pack SEC team or a low tier 1 SEC team.
So you're going Auburn. I'm going Auburn as well. Let's leave the suspense out of it. I agree with you. You know, and it's interesting. Auburn, you're right. They're not the most talented team in the SEC, but I agree with you that the floor is really high for them, and they play a certain brand of baseball, and like they know their identity, and they play it really, really well. They've got one of the best coaches in the conference, I think. And while they may not be the most talented team in the SEC, they're far more talented than South Carolina. I mean, when you think about what it took for the Gamecocks, which, by the way, Harrison, here's a crazy stat for you. South Carolina in SEC games that they've lost this season, which they've lost many of them, right? Because they sit currently at 5-19 in conference play. And those 19 losses, Harrison, they are averaging losing by more than 6 runs per game. So, like, when they're getting beat, they're getting beat. Like, they're really getting beat. They've been swept 4 times, I believe it is, in conference play this season. I mean, the one conference weekend where they had a winning weekend against Ole Miss at home, it literally took Brandon Stone throwing an 86-pitch complete game gem for them to win. I just don't see it happening. I'll tell you this, Harrison, I will not be surprised if South Carolina does something silly and wins a game. That wouldn't shock me. But I think Sam Dutton, Cade Fisher, that entire staff is going – that pitching staff's going to eat this weekend. I don't think that South Carolina lineup's really got anybody in it that – you know, losing Ethan Petrie, that's your guy with the pop. I think Dutton's going to spin a gem tonight, outduel a Brandon Stone, if you will. And I think it'll be a big weekend for Auburn. I think Auburn is chasing a top 8 national seed potentially. They're chasing seeding in Hoover. That they've got a lot they're playing for. South Carolina, you just got to wonder where they're at mentally. So I'm going to go with the Auburn Tigers as well. I don't know if they win 2 of 3 or sweep, but they're going to win this series. Will not be surprised with either result. You're going with Auburn as well. Jake.
What game do you think that South Carolina has the best chance to win?
Maybe game 2 when McCoy goes. Maybe.
I was thinking McCoy pitches too. What's interesting, though, Chris, is South Carolina and Auburn are almost neck and neck in batting average in conference play. The difference between, you know, offense production for them is that Auburn, you know, drives more runs in. I mean, they've got over 30 more RBIs than South Carolina in conference play. And I mean, I think a lot of the reason why is because South Carolina strikes out a lot more than Auburn does against conference foe. And, you know, that's the thing you can't, you know, you're not going to win a lot of ball games. So it's going to be hard to do so in the SEC when you're, you know, leaving guys on second and third and you're striking out, you know, more than other teams you're playing.
Yeah. No, for sure. And not having Ethan Petrie in the lineup, like we said, does.
Yeah. I mean, it's just only make those numbers worse.
Yeah. Does not help that. Again,
Jake, they are 9th in the conference in batting average in SEC play, which is interesting.
That is interesting. Like I said, our guy Jake McKeever also going to Auburn. And by the way, guys, later today, finally, peer pressure works. I will have the tallies for the pick'em. So you guys will know, internal, external, all of it. You guys will know where we stand. I think it'll be pretty neck and neck, pretty close. All right, Harrison, let's go to the Friday through Sunday series. We will start with what I think is the series of the weekend. And there's a part of me that is I'm a little bit sad I'm not back in Baton Rouge this weekend because Alex Box Stadium is going to be jumping yet again.
It's going to be jumping.
It's going to be jumping. LSU welcomes the Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas fresh off of their series sweep against Texas. Still, by the way, the number 1 ranked Texas Longhorns. LSU fresh off of dropping 2 of 3 to Texas A&M. I think a memory they've tried to block out of their recent memory. Really important series for both sides, definitely from the LSU perspective. Again, you want to bounce back, be playing your best baseball going in these final weeks. Interesting note here, Harrison, because, you know, Blake Ruffino, good friend of ours, friend of the show, AYS Sports, he talks, obviously, LSU, and mentioned their struggles against left-handed pitching. This will be the 4th straight game that LSU has seen a starting left-handed pitcher, because obviously A&M's rotation, all 3 guys, southpaws. Now you get Zach Root in game 1, who just absolutely diced up Texas's lineup. So how does LSU adjust to another elite left-handed arm? The Hogs lineup, I think, on the other side, Harrison, again, LSU's pitching's been elite. That matchup against the LSU pitching staff and Arkansas's lineup, and this is not your typical Arkansas lineup. I mean, it is 1 through 9, a bunch of bashers, if you will. You know, if LSU's not able to pitch well, can they keep up? I think there's a lot of questions there. And then my last note here, Harrison, before I kick it over to you, this kind of reminds me of the Tennessee series from the standpoint of you have to factor in the Alex Box factor when you talk about this weekend. I mean, if it was at the Hog Pen, right, we'd be having a different combo there too. And I'm not saying that's the end all be all, because typically the best teams win no matter where it's played across all sports. But does the Alex Box magic strike again? I don't know if there's going to be another 3.5 hour rain delay. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully not.
Fingers crossed there's not.
Hopefully we're not starting games at 10 p.m.
I mean, yeah, that happened last week too. I'd like to. I mean, I'll be up watching it either way, but yeah, hopefully there's not a 3.5 hour rain delay. That being said, Harrison, LSU Arkansas top 5 matchup at Alex Box Stadium. Can't get better than this. Who you going with?
Yeah, I think it's going to be another premier series that we're going to look back on and remember for quite a long time. It's going to be kind of this is an Omaha matchup. Texas, or you're going to see Texas obviously in a deep postseason run, but you're going to have Arkansas, as long as they don't, piss down their leg, like I'm going to quote you, piss down their leg in the postseason, like we've seen them done it plenty of times, which this offense is, you said it, maybe this is Dave Van Horn's best team in Arkansas, which he says a lot with how talented the teams he's had and he's coached and the players that they've had. But LSU, another Omaha caliber club too. And I mean, obviously it doesn't surprise us that, there's several SEC teams that are Omaha caliber club and championship caliber teams. But the thing that for me, it's going to come down to which pitching staff takes, I guess, advantage of the other team's offensive lineup, their aggressiveness in the zone. I think Arkansas is a lot more aggressive in the zone, is why, their offense production numbers are good. They hit very well and at a very high clip in the zone, but they do have a ton of strikeouts. They're, I think, top 5 in SEC play in the league in conference play in strikeouts. And that's something that LSU can take advantage of because they strike out guys at a very high level. Cade Anderson, Anthony Einstein, it feels like almost double-digit strikeouts for both of them almost every outing, if not, the overall majority of their outings, especially lately. I mean, just how much sharper and dialed in they've both gotten, and we've seen them progress through the season. It's been great. But then you got to go face, like you said, a 4th lefty in a row, which could play well for LSU. Just having to see, a lot of just pitches from left-handed guys and how that kind of plays into factor for them. I think just kind of offensive production wise, numbers wise, but could play well, could play, maybe they, continue to struggle a little bit with lefties. And we've seen how great Zach Root's been pitching recently. And then, how great Gage Wood, obviously is a righty, but in game 3 and just settle into that role with Gako in the bullpen. And it's going to be interesting to see, I think, which pitching staff on both the starting pitching staff and the bullpen takes advantage of the other team's aggressiveness. And Arkansas gives up a lot of doubles. They give it up I think it's about 12-ish more doubles than LSU's pitching staff has given up in conference play. It's going to be, and that's what LSU's bread and butter has been. This Arkansas team is mashing, doubles and home runs, but just really notably, I think the home run ball, because they've hit the 100 mark for home runs this season. LSU's at 72. We've talked about how throughout the season, this isn't a home run stylish team that LSU has relied on the ball. They hit them at a very high level, but it's just not like they only hit home runs. They hit a ton of doubles. Chris,
Harrison, how many? I know you have the stats pulled up. How many home runs do they have in SEC play? Can you pull that up for us?
Who?
LSU.
LSU has 31 home runs in SEC play. Arkansas is 55. That's where I was going next. It's one of those things that Arkansas relies so much more on the home run ball, and they have a lot of guys that get on base too because they lead the league in batting average at 307. LSU is just a doubles machine, and Arkansas's pitching staff has given up a lot of doubles this season. I mean, they've given up 48 doubles in conference play. LSU's given up 35. And so that's the big thing. The pitching staff for Arkansas is getting up 29 home runs in conference play. LSU's getting up 23 home runs in conference play. Like I said, it's going to boil down to which pitching staff, starting and bullpen-wise, can take advantage of the other team's, aggressiveness in the box in limiting the extra base hits, the doubles and the home runs. Obviously, mixing some clutch hits there. But, Chris, they're playing at Alex Box Stadium. It's going to be an absolute madhouse. It's going to be jumping at the box, Chris. It's going to be, you were there. I was watching. I was like, this has got to be the loudest regular season game I think I've seen in a long time on television. And there had to be people filing noise complaints with how late that game was going and how incredibly loud the game was at the end of the game, at the walk-off, everything, Chris. It's going to be jumping. The box is going to be electric. There's going to be some noise complaints. Put it on the radar for just how loud it's going to be. And I think that's going to push over the edge for LSU to, I think upset Arkansas in a series here at home, an important series, catch Arkansas riding a little bit high and just come in clutch at home. The fan support, they're in their zone. We know how hard winning is on the road in the SEC. Winning at Alex Box Stadium is another level, Chris, to do so and do so against a team that has no fear whatsoever and expects to, go and win this series, but no fear of playing whoever, whenever, wherever, championship level baseball, and a head coach as well. And I think LSU finds a way to win a rubber match and take this series.
Couple things for me, Harrison. Key for LSU, I think, the approach. I need to see a better approach from LSU. We're thinking middle. We're thinking away. The only guy in that lineup, in my opinion, that should be swinging out of their shoes is Bear Jones. He is the one guy that at any moment can go yard, can change a game. Everybody else, respectfully, I'm not saying other guys in the lineup can't hit homers. I saw
Add Derek Carriel to that list for me.
I mean, I saw Stephen Milam do it. I saw Braswell do it. I saw Jake Brown do it. Derek Carriel's got power, but when I was there, when they were facing Tennessee, it's way too much. I just need to see an improved approach. And you're going up against a left-handed arm, especially in game one.
You can't let him expand the zone.
Up the middle away. Yeah, you can't let him expand the zone. So up the middle away, I need to see an improved approach. If I'm Arkansas, my key for them, and again, there's a reason we don't talk about keys of the weekend a lot, because the keys to baseball are pretty simple, right? Situational hitting, great pitching, great defense. There you go. That's pretty much it, across the board. But in this series, I think there are just a couple of very specific things. I think for Arkansas, Haberson, it is get to the bullpen as quickly as possible. And that might sound like a no-brainer, but I think LSU ideally would probably like to go Case and Evans on Sunday. Make them use him beforehand. I think you can, if you're Arkansas, you can really get LSU on the ropes if you're able to. And much easier said than done, because Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson have been fantastic. But if you can get them out in the fourth or fifth inning, make LSU have to go to that bullpen probably a little earlier than they want. Make them go to a Zach Cohen. Make them go to a Case and Evans, what have you. Make them turn to some guys who they don't feel as good about. You're going to put yourself in a really, really good spot. You said it best, Harrison, and I'm going to echo it. If this series is in Fayetteville, Arkansas is the pick, but it's not. It's at Alex Box Stadium. And listen, just mere days later, after I said Arkansas is the best team in the SEC. Mere days later.
I did too.
And I stick with that. I think they're the most complete team. But this is just the reality of this league. When you go on the road in this league and you go to a place like Alex Box, and I would expect it, like you said, to be, I don't know if they're going to reset that attendance record like they did for Tennessee, but I bet you it comes pretty close. I would have to imagine it comes pretty darn close. It's going to be a real pissed off bunch of Tigers yet again. They're upset. Everybody's questioning Jay Johnson. Not everybody. There's some people questioning Jay again, which I think is silly, but some people are. They're antsy, right? We said LSU fans, antsy fan base. They're antsy this weekend. They're going to be on edge a little bit. I think LSU at home I think Arkansas is the better team, top to bottom. LSU at home is going to find a way to get this job done. I don't know if they win it in the first two games. I don't know if it's like Tennessee and they go to rubber match. We might see a walk-off again. LSU fans, your blood pressure is probably going to be through the roof, and your heart rate's going to be skyrocketed all weekend. But I do think LSU just at home, coming off that nasty A&M series loss, finds a way. The magic of Alex Box Stadium will strike again in some capacity, and I think they take 2 of 3. And it's going to be a great series. I mean, this is going to be like Tennessee was. It's going to have a super regional vibe. We very well could see these two teams face each other again.
This is
in
an
the
Omaha
postseason.
It's in Omaha. We expect to be in Omaha, and we expect them both to be there as well.
It's an Omaha vibe. So I'm going with LSU. You're going with LSU. Our guy, Jake McKeever, he's going with Arkansas. Not a bad pick, but I tell you, that'd be a hell of a statement series for and not that they didn't make a huge statement last weekend, but again, you go on the road and do it. You go to Alex Box and take a series, buddy, that's a loud statement. And they very well could do it. It's hard for me to
absolutely can do it.
Yeah, it's hard for me to pick against LSU at home.
I think when you have the sort of pitching staff of Zach Root, you have behind I'm trying to blank who's Gage Wood and Landon Bidle Cheese, just that trio of guys that can, give you 6+ innings every outing and have, the stuff that they have, the arsenals that they have, and just the length, but just how they pitch and just dominate the zone with multiple pitches in their arsenal and then expand the zone, especially how we saw Zach Root do it against Texas. and just, I mean, it was from the jump too. And it was one of those things that if Arkansas can do that and get length out of their starters against a team that has, not played their best offensive ball in LSU, they're going to be in a great position to go into the box and take a series. And it's one of those things, it's got to be able to, you got to be able to do that and just expand the zone so that they're swinging at your pitches and striking out and, getting themselves out. Because it's a simplistic way of, have the other team get themselves out. Like, yeah, that's baseball, but like it means more than just saying that. Right. And, playing on the road to be hard. I mean, it's not like they're playing in front of their fan base. They're not playing in front of the hog pen at Baum Walk and everything. But Chris, I know this is including non-conference, but Arkansas is 30-3 at home. 30-3, Chris. They're 7-5 on the road.
They've only played 12 road games.
LSU is 28-4 at home and 6-7 on the road. You think about it. I mean, it's just
it's just hard to win the road. It's hard to win away from home.
Hard to win the road in the SEC. All those road games are, I think I'd say 90% of them are SEC matchups.
Yeah.
Because you can include some neutral sites, but it's just one of those things that you look at. I mean, I'll see if I can find it and put it out before the end of the weekend about the, home and away SEC conference records, like who wins the most games on the road, and see what I can compile from that. But I mean, it's just one of those things. It's part of playing in the SEC.
Yeah. By the way, weather this weekend in Baton Rouge, Harrison, we got a 60% chance of rain on Friday, 50% on Saturday, 50% on Sunday. So we could get some I don't know if we're going to get another, 10 o'clock local time first pitch, but weather, something to keep an eye on.
One thing, the fans will be there no matter what.
Oh, they'll be there no matter what. Listen, the bourbon will be flowing, the crawfish will be boiled.
Oh, boys,
I'm so envious of those who will be in attendance. Again, you and I both going LSU, Jake going with Arkansas. Harrison, let's go to Rocky Top. I'm fired up to talk about this one. Tennessee and Vanderbilt. We talk about great rivalries in college baseball, Harrison. I don't know that this one gets the love it deserves, but this one's heated. This one, especially over the last few years since Tennessee's got it rolling, this is a nasty, bitter rivalry. And we got another big rivalry, by the way, to talk about this weekend. Great slate, like we said. But Tennessee, Vandy at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Harrison, the Vols are reeling. I mean, we just got to call it what it is. They're reeling. Like, they're not playing good baseball. They've lost 4 of their last 5 series. Crazy. And coming off that weird weekend against Auburn where it's weather impacted and Liam Doyle, for whatever reason, is trotted out there in the first game. It gets delayed. He comes in extra innings on Sunday pitch. Just a weird weekend. They get shut down in game 3, lose 2 of 3. Vandy, on the flip side, they're playing great baseball of late, right? I mean, they come off of taking 2 of 3 against Alabama. They walk off in game 3. I believe, wasn't the weekend prior when they swept Georgia, I think? Or was that the 2 weekends prior? Either way, Vandy's playing good baseball of late, playing really good baseball. Vandy boys are, I feel pretty good about saying that I think they're going to be a regional host most likely. Again, and here's the crazy thing, Harrison, like, as wild as this sounds to say, if Tennessee does not turn it around, if like they got this one and then they're at Arkansas next weekend, and we just talked about how hard it is to win on the road, Harrison, they drop these final 2 series. I think Tennessee's going on the road this postseason. I mean, that's hard to believe and think about, but that's kind of the reality. I mean, they're not going to let you host losing 6 of your last 7 series. So there's rivalry.
National champions, Chris.
I don't care. I mean, I don't think their resume would stack up at that point. Because, again, Tennessee is one of those, Harrison. I think it's Tennessee, Oklahoma,
Ole Miss.
Yeah, Ole Miss and Alabama are those 4 that I think are probably fighting for the final hosting spot. So I mean,
I'd say Alabama and Ole Miss more so than others, but yeah.
But you're on that bubble of hosting. So this is an important weekend for many, many reasons for Tennessee. They're on the home field, which, weird enough, Harrison, being at home hasn't done Tennessee a lot of favors with 3 home SEC series losses this season. First time that's happened, I believe, in the Tony Vitello era. And again, here comes Vandy. We kind of know their DNA at this point, right? They want to come in. They want to roll their 3-headed monster out there on the mound, dominate this Tennessee lineup, get just enough out of their lineup. Maybe R.J. Austin stays hot. Maybe Brody Johnston continues to swing a hot stick and beat you that way. I am, by the way, side note, Harrison, before I let you take it over, super fired up for the game one matchup. Liam Doyle, JD Thompson, and hopefully maybe good weather this weekend. You know, we'll get to see a regular traditional 3-game series where we're actually going to see Liam Doyle and JD Thompson duel against each other. But thoughts on this one? Great rivalry. The emotions will be high. Vitello versus Corbin, Vols versus Doors. Who you got on Rocky Top?
Yeah, Chris, I think it's going to be an incredible series to watch from a pitching standpoint. If you're a fan of good pitching, you're going to get some of the best pitching, in the SEC in this weekend, talent-wise, from, Liam Doyle and JD Thompson facing off to Marcus Phillips and, Cody Balker, and then Connor Fennell. I think on a Sunday for Vanderbilt definitely has the edge right now for sure.
Yeah, because who the hell's Tennessee throwing?
Yeah, and that's a big thing too, factoring, how the bullpen I think gets, used, and if maybe they throw AJ Russell out of the bullpen, maybe I don't know. It just depends on how they go into it with Tony Vitello's mindset and decision process with that. But Connor Fennell's been one of the best, if not the best, Sunday starter in the SEC the past 5 weeks since he's come on the scene. Really, I mean, it's been double-digit strikeouts. I think all but 1 or 2 of his starts in SEC play, which has been I think 6 or 7 at this point. But it's one of those things that we know Vanderbilt's bread and butter, like you said, is elite pitching and just, low scoring ball games with a little bit of timely hitting. Chris, we talked about it, last week about how their production numbers stack up in the SEC. I mean, it's better in conference play. I mean, they're 10th in batting average. Just their production of, runs isn't coming from, home runs. They have 28 home runs. Only 2 teams have less home runs than them in conference play, and that's South Carolina and Missouri. I mean, it's just, you're not going to get beat with the long ball from.
But Harrison, they are playing at Lindsey Nelson.
Exactly, they're playing at the Cracker Box.
Hey, there were a lot of. I will say on a side note, there were a lot of Vandy fans in the preseason or maybe even beginning of season talking shit about Tennessee's ballpark. So now you got to kind of follow through here. All right, if you go out there and get a goose egg in the home run department, they're going to let you hear it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, they're bottom 5 in the SEC, Chris, in RBIs. That just tells you what kind of games they have to play to win. And, holding the offense, they like Tennessee's down isn't going to be easy, but they have the pitchers have to do it. And they have Sawyer Hawks and Miller Green, 2 of their headline guys at the bullpen. And, they've held down an elite Georgia offense. Granted, Georgia's offense has played drastically different on the road versus at home with no trees to feed. But it's one of those things that this is a backs against the wall moment for Tennessee, I think, for the rest of the season. This is a turning point for them for the rest of the season in how they want the rest of their season, regular season, and going in the momentum into playing at Arkansas next week and then the postseason, what they want it to look like and be. And you talked about how there's, questions of leadership in that locker room. I don't think so, as much as you or other people think. I don't think so at all. It's absolutely Hunter Inslee. He is the leader in that locker room. He has to be. I think he is just a veteran in there. And you have guys like, Dalton Bargo, and you have, veteran guys in the SEC like Andrew Fisher as well, that have played in this league and just know the expectation and standard. They all know the expectation and standard at Tennessee playing for Coach Vitello. They all know it. But it's one of those things that they have to play, I think, a little bit more together, play more in unison, and just feed off each other, feed off. I think it's just feed off positive, good outcomes, good ABs, whatever it is, just timely hitting, big strikeouts, big moments, just feed off of that and just, next man up, step up. And speaking of stepping up, Chris, they need better weekend production from Cannon Peoples and Ariel Antigua. They really do. I mean, they're struggling. Antigua's batting under 200. I mean, it's one of those things that he's a great defender. And, they've had obviously their defensive miscues and whatnot and can't hold anyone on or save their life, apparently, for some reason, just how slow the plate they are, even though they all seem to throw 95 to 100. Another issue, but they just need, I think, more production outside of guys like Gavin Keelan, Hunter Inslee, Levi Clark, and Andrew Fisher, and Dalton Bargo. I mean, they need guys to step up in certain situations and just have more timely hitting. They need to get to Vanderbilt's bullpen as fast as possible. Get those starters out of the game. Get Sawyer Hawks and Miller Green in the game and use them and, get through them, because I think they don't have a problem hitting against those guys. I think it's more so the starters once they, just get in that groove and the rhythm that Vanderbilt pitchers have seen and done before week after week in the SEC, and just play their brand of baseball. That's all Tennessee needs to do. They have the talent to do so. They have, the head coach that knows exactly what and how, like, what they have in a team, how to use guys perfectly well. He's one of the best coaches at, pinch hitting guys when need to, and, getting the most out of his players. And Chris, somehow I think this is a turning point for Tennessee, and they come out of this series rejuvenated with a series win against a rival in Vanderbilt. I mean, using the long ball, getting to the bullpen quick, and just building momentum towards the postseason. This is a backs against the wall moment for Tennessee, and I think that they answer the call at Lindsey Nelson in front of a sold-out crowd.
Harrison, this is definitely one of the picks, if not the pick, that I feel the worst about. Because it's,
you just can't rely on Vanderbilt's offense this much.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing for me.
Here's you can poke holes in either pick. You really can, because you either have to pick against what your eyes have seen to this point, or you have to pick Tennessee to lose 5 of their last 6 series and their 4th series at home.
Yeah,
in conference play.
I don't see it. I don't see it.
It's just like it's hard to
another level to it.
But then again, I go back to, like, Tennessee has won the last 2 years, and I've talked to Vandy people, and they're pissed off, and like they want their revenge, and it's like a wounded. It's like it's a wounded animal that the Vols are right now. Granted, had a big, and I know it's the midweek, but I don't care. When you're struggling like Tennessee is, you'll take a run rule victory in the midweek any day of the week. They do that, so maybe there's some momentum. Gavin Kylan with the big knock in that one in the midweek, and maybe you get him rolling, right? That's a welcome sight for them. They saw over the middle of the week, if you will. Vandy, I think definitely. I mean, the Connor Fennell thing on Sunday, I just, that terrifies me from the Tennessee perspective, because if it comes down to Sunday, how are you not rolling with Vandy? I mean, they just have such an advantage at that point. But against my better judgment, and I hate to do it because I got a lot of love for the Vandy boys. I got a lot of love for both sides. I got to roll with Tennessee here. I just, and again, I don't feel good about it. I really don't, because of what we've seen the last month of the season. But I got to think Tennessee is going to start playing better baseball. Like, I just, I don't fully believe what we've seen over the last month is like really who they are. I just think you get cold in baseball. I'll tell you this though, Harrison. If Tennessee's going to get hot, it has to start this weekend. I even look at last weekend. It was a weird weekend, man. Like, one of the biggest reasons I picked Tennessee to beat Auburn is because I was like, man, I really think Liam Doyle is going to outduel Sam Dutton. But what happened with that? He didn't even pitch. He didn't even pitch until extra innings. So it was a really weird.
Let alone the umpires.
Yeah, it was just a really weird. And I'm not making excuses. Auburn fans are going to think I'm taking away from their series win. I'm not doing that. But it was just a weird weekend. Just kind of, I want to see Tennessee this weekend be more composed mentally. I know Liam Doyle's a fiery guy, but like, let's try not to get tossed from the game this weekend, maybe. I fully expect the emotions to be flying around, but I just, I gotta, and I can't even give you a bunch of good reasons, guys, to be honest with you, but something in my gut tells me Tennessee is going to play better baseball. I think this is going to be a really, really fun weekend. I will be having a very close eye on this series, but Tennessee at home, no way they lose their 4th SEC series at home, right? I just, no way.
They were one pitch away, 1 out away from taking a series at Alex Box.
I know. Listen, I know the margins are razor thin in this league. I know. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go with the Vols. If it gets to Sunday, Harrison, I'm going to text you and be like, I'm scared.
I think it also, for me, depends on who both teams have used up until that point Sunday.
For sure.
Because if it's like Connor Fennell or Ethan McElvin after, and that's it, or, a guy that hasn't thrown many innings, I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sold on, Vanderbilt, like, winning Sunday if they, don't have anyone quality arms that they rely on out of the pen available.
Yeah. I think you make a good point too, Harrison. At the end of the day, I believe Tennessee is going to have more offensively, even with the great pitching.
Floor is higher.
Even with the great pitching of Vandy, I just think Tennessee swinging it at home. If this was at the Hawk, I might feel differently, but I gotta think, and I think Tennessee's going to play better.
Cracker Jack box too.
I'd say it's about even. I'd say it's about a neutral park. I mean,
I'm just messing with you.
Tennessee can make any park look small, though. Let's call it for what it is. I think Tennessee, though, edges out Vandy. They take 2 of 3. So you're going with Tennessee. I'm going Tennessee. Jake McKeever also going Tennessee. And again, that is what scares the absolute hell out of me, that we are all rolling with the Vols. Vandy ranked higher than Tennessee right now, man. I mean, that some would say they're the favorite going in. You know,
I mean, and it's gonna be a thing. Like,
know.
they don't have, like, they're not having to worry about, as much of a base stealing threat in Vanderbilt. I mean, they do have 22 stolen bases in conference, but it's like, they're not facing, Florida with 34, or, Oklahoma with 38, or Kentucky with 56. It's one of those things that is going to be, I think, a little bit part of the game is, getting guys on, getting them over, stealing base, pass, whatever it is. And in Tennessee, like, speaking of that, has to play clean defense. They have
Harrison, confidence level 1 through 10 of the Tennessee pick for you. Confidence level
1 through 10. I'm gonna say it's 6.5.
Dude, I'm like a 4, to be honest with you. So I'm rolling with the Vols, but
Chris, they can't lose 5 series in a row.
But see, that's what I'm saying. We're just saying that, but it's like maybe they can. Look, I'll tell you this: if they lose this series to Vandy, I think we have to have a serious combo on Monday, Harrison. It's like, this is just kind of who Tennessee is this season.
But they could also do that and then lose 2 or 3 at Arkansas, and then be a 3 seed or a 2 seed in the postseason and go on a run and go back to Omaha.
Right. Well, I mean, they would be a crazy.
Could you imagine you had to face Tennessee as a
two? I just think at some point, though, man, like hot, cold, hot is a thing, but also maybe just it goes from like, oh, they're cold to like, no, they're just not really that good.
We've seen the heights of this Tennessee team and how good they are. They can beat anyone in the country.
Did they pick on non-conference opponents? Maybe. I mean,
I think everyone in the SEC does.
I'm just it's been so long since they won a series. I forgot who the last team they beat was. I mean, I guess it was Ole Miss on the road, but before that, who did they beat?
Yeah, and
before that,
South Carolina. Then they took the series before that series from Alabama.
Okay, it was Bama.
They swept Florida, who looks really good right now.
Well, that was a different Florida team. That was granted, I could say that was a healthier Florida team.
Granted, it was, and you did pick Florida.
Yeah, and I did. Okay. Anyways,
you could argue they should have won 2 or 3 at the box.
Well, now we're really getting in the hypotheticals.
I'm just saying. But they did lose the series to Kentucky.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll find out a lot this weekend. All 3 of us going Vols. We'll see what happens.
I think some more so solidify thoughts.
You said again?
This will more so, I think, solidify thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, every weekend kind of clears the,
narrows the path.
What am I looking for? The forest from the trees type of deal. I don't know. Either way, we'll learn a lot. Harrison, you mentioned feeding the trees briefly a moment ago. Let's talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. They won't be feeding trees this week. They'll go on the road to Tuscaloosa. The Alabama Crimson Tide hosting Georgia. I mean, I think the big question here, Harrison, again, Dogs just went on the road, swept Mizzou, but Phi Delta Theta Stadium, I don't put a lot of stock in it. So I still have the question, are the Dogs going to break? Can they go on the road and win a series of significance? That's the question. Will the offense follow them on the road, or will it be more of those road struggles that we've talked about so much? Justin LeBron getting going, I think it's big. You talked about what he did in the midweek. He hasn't been the same Justin LeBron we saw early in the season. I think they need to see him pick it up, obviously. And then, I mean, dude, what's on the line from a postseason perspective? Again, Bama, one of those teams fighting for a hosting spot. I think they're kind of on the outside looking in right now. Kind of depends on the projections you look at, but I think they're on the outside looking in. Georgia's fighting for a top 8 national seed. You and I have talked a ton this season why that's important for them. Georgia's one of the best teams in the country when they're playing at home. They go on the road, I mean, who knows what you're going to get. So, thoughts on this one, Haberson? I think this one is kind of flying under the radar, but a really good series with a lot of implications in T-Town this weekend.
Yeah, I think this is an important series for both teams and a little bit different facets. Just Georgia getting back to kind of their roots of, playing the offensive style that they, have kind of shown the SEC and shown everyone around college baseball. Granted, a lot of it's been at home, and the splits I feel like are crazy, like drastically larger than most teams in the SEC. And, staying in that top 8 national seed conversation, I think, too. And, the importance of that for Georgia, especially with their offensive splits on the road and at home. But you got to think for Bama, kind of reeling a little bit. I mean, a huge midweek win versus a really good Troy team. But other than that, kind of feels like they've been kind of reeling down and just, they're on the edge of, not being ranked. And do they want to be in that hosting conversation still? They need to win the series this weekend and, have the talent and ability to do so. But it's one of those things, like, is Georgia's offense really going to be this different, and I say bad in relative terms, on the road all season long. Like, for me, Georgia, it feels like plays to the level of their competition. I mean, we've seen them versus Arkansas. We've seen them versus, Vanderbilt. We've seen them versus, Missouri. We've seen them, versus Texas. It feels like they play to the level of their competition more so than any other team in the SEC that I've seen. And take that for the road and home splits into account as well. I just think the floor is higher for Georgia from an offensive production standpoint and depth-wise than it is for Alabama across the board, and the struggles that Justin LeBron has had outside of, I think in the midweek game. And I mean, you got to think of it too. Look at the numbers of, Justin LeBron is not even the headline guy. I know we talk about him a lot, but he's not even the headline guy for Alabama. I mean, I think it's by far, Cade Snell. I mean, he is the best hitter in the SEC this season. He's got an over 1,100 OPS. I think just statistically across the board, he's batting almost 400, Chris, this season. I mean, overall, including non-conference, I think it's important for kind of a player individual standpoint. It feels like the offense has kind of revolved more so around him. I mean, we saw with 5 RBIs against Troy, obviously a really good team. I think it's one of those things that Georgia's pitching staff has gotten better throughout the season, and you get 2 of their best starts by far this season. I know they're against Missouri, but lengthwise and just stuff-wise out of Brian Curley and Leighton Finley, I think that this Alabama lineup, the kind of holes it has in it more so than other elite SEC teams that are ranked, they don't necessarily have to, pitch directly at Cade Snell if there's, a guy on second, and 2 outs. Necessarily they can kind of be a little more strategic with that. And Wes Johnson, obviously being a phenomenal pitching coach and baseball, pitching guru, he is. And I think the offense just steps up this week on the road. I think there's a little bit of this football rivalry in this baseball series this weekend, both being ranked, both having a lot to play for. And I just think that the production levels that you're going to get out of, if this series is played 10 times, Chris, 5 at home, 5 away, obviously I think it's taking a factor. But I just think that Georgia, at a more consistent level is going to have more offensive production there. We've seen the inconsistencies that we know Alabama has on the pitching staff side. I think starters and relievers, which I think worries me too, Chris, because it's like, all right, who's going to go on Sunday and like, what is their outing going to look like? And then who's available to bullpen? It could be anything. It could be pick a card out of any card, whatever, draw one, Uno, whatever you want to call it for Alabama. You could say the same thing for Georgia. But I think, they have more experience in that kind of aspect of how to go about Sundays with so many guys just going one inning, certain situations and roles. And, a lot of the numbers are similar for them in conference play this season, Chris, in like offense production. And I think that Georgia's has a better opportunity to get to Alabama's bullpen and do damage versus the bullpen. And I think they step up this week on the road with the offense and win a huge series on the road. Georgia Bulldogs.
Harrison going with Georgia. I will say I've been impressed by Georgia's pitching.
I love it. You want to talk about confidence level, Chris? About a 4.
Fair enough. I have been. I think the most encouraging thing for Georgia, if you're a Georgia fan, is the fact that the pitching staff's really starting to come along. You're starting to see. I mean, like I said, Brian Curley goes 7 innings. I mean, that was last weekend. I don't care who the opponent is. The fact you could stretch him out that long, and they've been much, much better, especially their starters from a pitching perspective. Harrison, I just don't trust Georgia on the road. I really don't. And I think Bama, coming off that heartbreaking series loss at Vandy, losing game 3 on a walk-off, the Bama hype, I mean, especially from us, and I think deservedly so, just the way they've played over the last month or so, it's cooled off significantly. Think about this, Harrison. At one point, this was a top 10 team. And I think that was
that was a lot of non-conference play, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got a little overzealous there. Granted, listen, they deserved it by the way they were playing, but you and I both kind of agree that I never really thought Bama was a top 10 team or was going to finish like even top 3 or 4 in the conference. Still a really, really solid team though, and I gotta see Georgia go on the road and do it. I'm curious yet again. I'm assuming they're going to stick with the same rotation with Faye getting the ball in game 1, Quick game 2, Zane Adams in game 3. You mentioned Cade Snell been fantastic. I am looking at Justin LeBron this weekend to have a big weekend and carry the momentum from the midweek. I think he will. He has to. I think it'll be 2 of 3. May come down to a rubber match, may not. But I like Bama. I think Bama protects the home field. I don't think they're done quite yet. I think the Crimson Tide fighting for a hosting spot. They want postseason baseball in T-Town. I'm going to roll with Bama to outduel Georgia. I wonder if Georgia starters can keep spinning it that well. And against the Bama lineup that, not the best in the conference by any means, but a dangerous lineup, no doubt. Again, Georgia, I just need to see them do it on the road against somebody of substance. That's my big thing that's holding me back.
Yeah, and Chris, you got to think, they're not – take it for what it is.
I mean, dude, Georgia almost lost a game to Mizzou. You want to play the hypothetical game?
All right, you want to play the almost hypothetical game? Yeah, I mean, we got LSU fans in the comments, and I know they're going to come at me for saying that, they still won 2-3 versus Tennessee. I mean, I'll never hear the end of that. But I'm just saying, like, that's how close the razor thin margins, like you said. That's how close it. I mean, yeah, let's say Missouri goes 0-30. Well, they almost won a game here. They didn't. They didn't, right. Chris. It doesn't matter. And weird things happen in Como. Weird things happen at Phi Delta Theta Stadium. Nevertheless, though, it's one of those things that we've talked about. I know home and road with Georgia's offense, but the production floor for Georgia 1 through 9 is so much higher, I think, than Bama's.
That's fair.
That's such a huge thing for me. And it's like they don't have to rely on Cade Snell, Will Platner, or Justin LeBron, who's batting .229 in conference. I mean, it was one of those things that, like, maybe he just got off such a hot start, and guys and teams in the SEC really realized how to pitch to him. But Georgia can beat you so many different ways. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys with a WRC plus, weighted runs created plus, over league average. They have 3 of them over 50% better than league average. I mean, you got Rylan Zaborowski, who's 90% better than league average. And that's obviously, I think, that's a season as a whole, not just conference, but, like, still. It shows the depth of floor that I think they have from an offensive standpoint, and that they're not going into a hostile environment. I'm sorry, Ben Pence. Sewell Thompson Stadium, I've been to it before. I've seen a game. I've seen a conference game there. I've seen 2 conference games there. It is not a hostile environment. I mean, yeah, you have a bunch of college fans in right field, excuse me. Chris, it is May 8th. Graduation happened this past week. How many of those kids are still there? How many of those students are still in town? I'm just saying. It's not like you're going into the hog pen. You're not going, to the box. You're not going to, you're not going to Bluebell Park. I'm just saying.
Bama fans, you have officially been called out by Harrison Fan. It is your
Twice
job
now.
It is your job to pack the ballpark this weekend. And again,
pack the Joe.
Pack the Joe. You make a bunch of valid points. I'm still going to go with Bama, pull the upset. Jake McKeever, by the way, also going with Alabama. And
Chris, can we make note? Who of the 3 of us picks Georgia?
Right. I also found that ironic. I did.
So all the Georgia fans saying, "Oh, he just picks against them because he's a tech analyst."
No, you're riding with the dogs. I respect that.
And I guarantee you, if Georgia wins the series, there won't be a word about that, though.
No, that's how it goes.
That's just how it works.
We'll see. Could be a good pick. Be a good pick. Anyways, let's keep it moving. Let's go to this one, Harrison. Really interesting series here in Austin, Texas, as the Texas Longhorns, licking their wounds, coming off getting swept at Arkansas. They host a red-hot Florida Gators team, although Florida losing in the midweek to South Florida. Still, though, Florida, Harrison, 10-2 in their last 12 SEC games. They've won 4 straight SEC series. They have gone from dead, stick a fork in them, to Florida right there squarely in the postseason conversation. This one's going to be fun, man. Texas, again, coming back home to the friendly confines. How do they bounce back? It's also, by the way, Harrison, I think of note, if there's anybody more banged up than Texas, right? Because we talk about what they're missing with Jared Spencer. By the way, is Max Ballou coming back this weekend? I don't know if it's this. He's getting closer. I don't know.
I don't think he'll be back this week. I haven't heard anything yet. I'll double check.
Maybe not this weekend, but he is getting closer. I've seen a lot of chatter about him. But still, you're down a couple guys. Your main guy, Jared Spencer. But if there's anybody more banged up than Texas, it's Florida. Harrison, talking to them, they are down to 10 position players. I mean, they literally cannot sustain another injury. If they do,
and you can't pinch hit anybody.
We might see Jake Clemente in right field. Like,
he's got a cannon though, Chris. He might throw someone out. I would love to see that.
I'm just saying we might see pitchers getting ABs, and I don't think any of us really want to see that.
I want to see that.
Well, no Florida fans probably want to see that. Anyways,
unless they're up 10-0, it's like throw them in.
And then I think the path for Florida, Harrison, one of the paths at least. I don't want to say Texas got exposed. I'll explain more in a second. But, Arkansas's lineup was able to have some success. And I think when you stack up Florida's starting rotation against Texas's starting rotation, there's a path there for Florida to go into Austin. Guys like Liam Peterson, Aiden King, Billy Barlow, Jake Clemente, for them to outduel what Texas is going to try out there, even as good as they've been, because I don't want to make light of how good those guys have been or were, at least up to last weekend. Thoughts on this series? Texas licking their wounds, Florida's red hot. Who comes out on top at Dish Falk?
Chris, there's a lot of confidence levels that are up in the question, I think, for us this week. And I think this is I don't want to say under the radar, but just like a confidence that I don't think a ton of people have, because you don't know which kind of Texas you're going to get necessarily with how they played last week, the injuries, which Florida are going to get now. They've been playing some of their best baseball in SEC play. Obviously, I think, they're not playing as good of teams as Texas the past month. But, I mean, when you're hot, Chris, you're hot in the SEC. And when you're not, you're not. Yeah. In the last 7 games, Chris, Texas is ranked 279th in batting average, batting 224 as a team. Florida, 307 as a team, ranked 80th. I mean, OPS for Florida, 44th ranked at 942. Texas, 252nd ranked at a 713 OPS. Not on base percentage, OPS. It's one of those things that which the ebbs and flows, talk about the hot and cold. I think it's one of those things, we don't make it up, Chris. It is literally teams get hot and teams get cold. It is as sure as the sky is blue in college baseball, especially in the SEC. And obviously, I think schedule kind of helps dictate that a little bit. Obviously, injuries take into account too. But when you have to go play on the road in the SEC, I say this importance for so many series because it's that important to reiterate every series. Florida, Chris, read me their last 5 series they've played and where.
Well, last weekend they're at South
Carolina.
They hosted. I'd have to pull up the schedule, honestly. I know that 2 of the 4 series they've won in a row have been against Missouri and South Carolina.
At Mississippi State, versus Missouri, and versus Vanderbilt.
That's
playing
right.
At home helps, Chris. I mean, Mississippi State's a hostile environment for sure. But when you're playing, Arkansas at home too, that helps. But going on the road, you're traveling halfway across the country too. I think that's going to take into a matter as well. And it's one of those things that Florida's offensive production numbers are better than Texas's right now. And I don't think more people would be surprised by that than you think. I think it's because of just Texas isn't going to blow you away offensively, but they're going to play crisp, clean, kind of middle of the pack production level offensive numbers and just elite pitching. The injuries, I think, like you mentioned, are super important to take into account with both Texas, but also the Florida one. I didn't know they were down to 10. I mean, Chris, that you can't pinch hit guys, pinch run. You better hope no one dives into a wall, or anything. That's me one thing I think it's going to be super hard and to, strategize around unless it's like the 9th inning, and you're down 2 or whatever it is. But it's going to be something important to kind of follow along. I think it's one of these situations in which Texas finds a way to come back and just stop the noise of, hey, Texas is not good and can't play on the road. And, they play all their good series at home, all their ranked series. I think they just bounce back from a lot they've learned from playing at Arkansas against a lineup like that, because this Florida lineup is not this Arkansas lineup they just saw. And they're getting them at home. You're going to have, Dylan Valencia, obviously you're going to face. You're going to face Max Grubbs. You're going to have to face their starters as well at Texas, Ruger Rojas and Luke Harrison. And it's going to be guys that I think step up in situations like Texas has done all season long and be clutch on both sides of the ball and protect the home field of Dish Falk. And I think they take 2. Definitely don't sweep, but it's one of those things that Florida still has their backs against the wall. They need to take 2 in this situation series, but it's not going to be easy to do so against a team that just is so clutch in such tight games all season long, no matter who they play.
Harrison, as much as Texas fans thought I was picking on them over the last few weekends when I was picking against them, and and making the point of, how long can you keep winning one-run games? And again, there was a moment where some Longhorns fans thought I was heck, I've been called a Texas hater. I've been called a Texas glazer, everything in between, what have you.
We call it a Florida glazer.
Right. But I will say this, what you cannot do in this league is overreact to a point to where on a weekend in, weekend out basis. Like you can't go from one extreme to the other because that's just not how baseball works, right? So I think Texas was the best team in the country up until last weekend. They went on the road, they got smacked. It is what it is. It happens to literally everybody, like you said. Is Texas an imperfect club? Yes, and so is everybody else too, right? This is the game of baseball. Like everybody's got something. But to react to a degree of, well, Texas is just terrible, they got exposed, they're no good, I just think that's the wrong reaction. On the Florida side, dude, Florida's been playing great baseball. I mean, guys are – Liam Peterson's been pitching really well. The lineup has been swinging the hell out of it. I mean, they have – even without Colby Shelton last week, and we saw in Harrison, let's take into account the competition. South Carolina stinks. We get that. But still, you go out in an SEC game, score 22 runs. I don't care who you're playing. Florida is red hot.
They almost lost one in Missouri. They did win 3-2, Chris.
There you go. So,
At home.
Florida's swinging a red hot bat right now. I like what I'm seeing out of the pitching staff. I'm going with Texas at home. I think Texas is they're one of those teams, like we talk about Georgia. I'll throw Texas in here. We'll throw Arkansas in here. They are one of the best teams in the country on their home field. Like they haven't lost a series there all year. Throw LSU in that category too. They're so hard to beat on their home field. And I'm just not, for as much as Texas fans, again, thought I was picking on them over the last few weeks as I was picking against them and kind of making remarks about they were kind of whistling by the graveyard type of vibe of just kept kind of getting by, just barely getting by winning games. I'm going to defend Texas here because, again, I think to just sell all your stock, oh, my God, they're frauds, they were overrated, I think is also the wrong take. I think it is a bit of an overreaction. Now, moving forward, what does it look like without Jared Spencer, who's out the rest of the year? How does the pitching staff bounce back? I'm really curious to see that. But let us not forget, just because of one bad weekend in Fayetteville where they got beat by who I think, again,
is the most complete
team in the conference and maybe the country, Texas is still one of the best teams in college baseball, especially when they're playing in Austin. And for as hot as Florida has been, Harrison, I think this is a tired group. I think this is a bit of an exhausted group. And I just think 4 SEC series wins in a row, they've been playing great baseball, but man, only having 10 position players available, I think at some point is going to take its toll. I think this is a series that's decided with a rubber match, or the winner of this series wins 2 out of 3. No sweeps here in Austin, but I think it'll be Texas at home, defending the home field, finding a way. Again, a lot of folks want to overreact to what happened last weekend. I get it. Harrison, you can't overreact in this game to that degree. You can't all of a sudden say, man, Texas sucks. No, they don't. They had a bad weekend. They don't suck, right? Pitching staff's got to bounce back for me. And you mentioned the hitting, too. They got to start swinging a little bit better. They'll have a tough task against Florida. I think Gators will kind of, I don't want to say run out of gas, but this is by far the toughest challenge they've had over these last 5 weeks or during this win streak. I think they kind of run into a brick wall of sorts this weekend. Texas finds a way to bounce back, take 2 out of 3.
Yeah, like you said, I think just with the level of competition and the teams that they've played, and all due respect to, South Carolina, Mizzou, playing at Mississippi State was a really good series. I will give them that. But they also, they did play Arkansas at home. We cannot take that away. And that's in the middle of that slate of, SEC series that they have played and played well in. But it's one of the situations for me in which I trust Texas's bullpen night and day more than I trust Florida's. Mm-hmm. From a recency standpoint, even with the Arkansas series, to a whole season long standpoint. I mean, Texas's ERA ranked in the bullpen is 6th in the country at a 3.64. Florida is a 5.51, which ranks 90th in the country. I mean, it's one of those things that the wall you're going to run into in Texas's bullpen, outside of Arkansas, obviously, but as a season as a whole, what they've done in the bullpen, Florida's going to make a lot of noise, I think, in this series. But I think, like you said, they run into a burnt orange brick wall in Texas and fall short of taking the series at Dish Falk.
It's going to be a fun one. I'm excited to watch this one because, again, it's Florida's one of those teams right there on the verge, fighting for those postseason lives. And Texas, obviously, they got a nasty taste in their mouth from last weekend. Our guy, Jake McKeever, he's going with the Florida Gators. So that I tell you, that would
make you feel better.
I mean, it'd be like I actually feel pretty confident in this pick, believe it or not. I really do. I actually feel pretty confident here.
I'm gonna say about a 7.5.
I'd say I'm about a 7. So you're a little more confident than me, but I just don't think you can overreact. Like, Texas is still one of the best teams in the country. They are. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
I really do believe that. So, but going to be a fun one. Kevin O'Sullivan and company are going to bring it this weekend. So I'm going Texas. You're going Texas. Jake, rolling with the Gators. Our guy Jake, by the way, will be there in person on Saturday there in Austin. Hey, Everson, let's go to Lexington, Kentucky. The Kentucky Wildcats hosting Oklahoma. UK looking to bounce back from getting swept in Starkville last weekend. I'm looking at Kyson Witherspoon. Do we have another dazzling start upcoming from him? We know how important for OU winning game one is. They are right there in the mix of teams fighting to have postseason baseball on their home field. They'd love to bring postseason baseball back to L. Dale Mitchell Park in Norman. Everson, your thoughts on this one? You talk about under the radar series. This one, I think, certainly is one, maybe not at the forefront, but a very important series, I think, for both sides.
Yeah, I think very important indeed for Oklahoma if they want to stay in that hosting conversation. I think they have to take 2 of 3 in this series minimum. And Kentucky, they're just a scrappy team that I think they're gonna be a really tough, team to face in wherever regional they go to. But it's one of those things that if Oklahoma's gonna win this series, they have to limit Kentucky's stolen bases. They have to. I mean, Kentucky leads the conference in stolen bases. Oklahoma, right up there with them, though. Don't get that mistaken, though, Chris. They are right up there with them. I think they're second in the conference in stolen bases, so they can steal at a very high clip as well. But they don't rely on it, I think, as much as Kentucky does in their style of play. Kentucky's hit 42 home runs this season. Oklahoma's hit 52. So, yes, 10 better, but it's not like 75, 80 like we've seen, with LSU and other teams or more. But it's one of those things that I think the ceiling for Oklahoma's pitching staff is higher, but the floor is higher for Kentucky's starting pitching staff. And it's stuff that for Kentucky isn't going to, it's not like you're facing Kyson Witherspoon 2-3 times, for Kentucky, but you're facing, Nick McKay, Ben Cleaver. I mean, those guys that can pitch at a very high level and have proven so week in and week out have been under the radar starters. But the offensive production numbers that, yes, I think both teams have really struggled immensely in the offensive, production categories and average OPS, weighted on base percentage, immensely outside the top 200 in all 3 categories, both teams. Both neck and neck at 231, 237 for Oklahoma and Kentucky average-wise, respectively. I just trust the floor of Oklahoma a little bit more offensive-wise and what you can get throughout the lineup. I'm not saying it's a deep lineup, but I'm saying a little more pop and juice out of the lineup that I think is going to, help them push over the edge of winning this series. And just, I'm not giving an automatic game 1 to Oklahoma because I don't, you can't do that, but Kyson Witherspoon puts them in an incredibly well and strong position week after week after week after week to win game 1 and give you 2 chances to win the series in game 2 and game 3. And I think they do that again this series against Kentucky and set themselves up great to win the series and be in that hosting conversation come the right into the regular season.
Hey, Everson, you familiar with that Spider-Man meme where they're pointing each other? And I think that's actually Kentucky's home run celebration. That's how I feel about
these. Last year.
That's right. It was last year. That's how I feel about these 2 teams, though. I feel like these are mirror images of each other. But they both want to play the small ball, active on the base paths, kind of an unorthodox style a little bit. Maybe Kentucky
56 and 38 stolen bases, 56 for Kentucky, 38 for Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think these are I don't know if they're 1-2, but they're both near the top.
In conference, and this is in conference play. Yeah, they're 1-2.
Yeah, okay, so they're 1-2. Yeah, so they play a very, very similar style. I do think Oklahoma just has more firepower in the lineup. I agree with you. I will go out there and say they win game one with Kyson Witherspoon on the mound. And I think I think Kentucky does take a game here. I really do. But I do think Oklahoma on the road, I think has just a little bit more than the Cats right now. Again, Oklahoma fighting for that hosting spot. I think they'll take 2 or 3. I'm going to go with Boomer Sooner. You're going with Boomer Sooner.
Boomer.
Our guy Jake McKeever going with Boomer Sooner. Again, mirror images of each other. It's going to be a very interesting. Yeah. Who can beat the other at their own game? That'll be the question. So let's go, Harrison, to Starkville, Mississippi. And the fact that we're waiting until this long, it's taken us this long to get to this one. Mississippi State and Ole Miss at the Dude.
Does it get better than that?
It's one of the best. It's one of the best, if not the best, in college baseball. Man, one of those rivalries that just makes you love the sport. The grills will be fired up this weekend. The Dude will be rocking. And Harrison, like we talked about on Monday, don't look now. Dogs are hot. Dogs are getting hot. I think the Dogs are hot. 4-0 in the Justin Parker era, 2-run rule victories. They just swept Kentucky. You get Hunter Elliott against Pico Khan in game one. Must-see TV. And again, the emotions are going to be running at an all-time high with this rivalry. Harrison, your thoughts on this one? I really believe this is a coin flip and could go either way. Which way you leaning here? The game, or the series, I should say, at the Dude.
This is one of those series that I think no matter how good or bad either team is playing, it's must-watch college baseball because of the recency of, both of them winning national championship within the past 5 years, but also just with how passionate these fan bases are and how close they are. I mean, you have houses divided, and then you have just hatred, I think. And it feels like you could argue that outside of Ole Miss football, that this is, the most important, head-to-head rivalry in Mississippi, as a sports kind of outlook. I mean, we know, and I think Mississippi State baseball is number one at Mississippi State. Granted, football does have the revenue and whatnot, and, the numbers of attendance, but I think it's more passionate fans. I think it's definitely number one. It's one of those things that it's so much more important. I think, they want to beat them in the Egg Bowl, but I think Mississippi State cares more about beating Ole Miss in baseball, and let alone defending the Dude. Mm-hmm. Chris, they're playing at the Dude. They're not playing at Swayze. They're not having to travel to Oxford. They're going to get Ole Miss having to travel to Starkville. And the fans, and they're going to close down businesses for this game, Chris. There's going to be, sorry, we're closed. We're at the game. We're at the Dude to watch Mississippi State beat up on Ole Miss. That's what people are going to say. Whether they have a sign or not, that's going to be the motto. That's going to be the expectation, I think, especially in the Justin Parker era that has been what feels like a little night and day, to be maybe a little bit dramatic, but it feels like just night and day shift offensive wise. And he's a pitching guy. I mean, it's one of those things that the Dude is going to be sold out, electric, jumping. The food you're going to smell for miles because they're going to be grilling out before, during, and after the games. It's going to be one of the most electric atmospheres, I think, in college baseball series head-to-head as a whole this season. In somehow, some way, Chris, Mississippi State's going to find a way to defend the Dude. And it's going to be on the backs of guys like Ace Reese. Hunter Hines, I think, steps up in a big way. Bryce Chance. And you're going to get a phenomenal start from Pico Khan. And I think just the consistency level that he gives you week in and week out is just so good. And, Ben Davis, I think, steps up in a big way out of the pen. I think, Luke Dotson has a big, appearance himself, maybe in a situation that's just like, hey, you need to hold the line here, right? And I don't know, just something one of those. Remember last week when I flipped my pick from Kentucky to Mississippi State? It's to that same exact stint, but maybe a little different because of the rivalry sense. And just, if this is at Swayze, Chris, I'm really unsettled about this pick. But at Mississippi State, Chris, the way that they're playing right now under Justin Parker as the interim head coach, and just the momentum I feel like that they have, I got that taste in my mouth that Hail State, Chris, is going to take 2 or 3 here in this series, defend the Dude, and continue their track to find a way to get in the postseason when records don't matter, and do what they can to go on a run. And I think it starts here and it continues here with beating two of 3 from your rival, Ole Miss.
Harrison, my mouth's watering thinking about the food that'll be prepared and cooked in left field lounge. Shout out
Lounge,
to
baby.
those folks.
I had some blueberry sausage when I was there. I was there 3 years ago this week to see Florida at Mississippi State with the Atlanta Braves Trophy Tour.
So you were there the season after they won it all.
Season after they won national championship. I have a picture of holding both trophies, Chris, in my hands.
Very cool.
I mean, it was an unbelievable atmosphere there, and I expect it to be just as good this weekend.
Yeah. No, it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. These two teams, these two fan bases hate each other. Really, truly hate each other. Pico Khan against Hunter Elliott, like I said, I think it's going to be absolute cinema. I think the big difference here is I don't trust Riley Maddox in this spot on the road. And like you said, man, I think Mississippi State, they're playing loose. There's this pressure that I think has been lifted a little bit. And I think that's going to play to their advantage. I think that's going to play in their favor. This one is another one that I feel uneasy about because I think Ole Miss might just be the better team, to be honest with you. But I like State in this spot at home. I really do. I all of a sudden, again, they're catching fire. I think they're going to be one of the best stories by season's end when it comes to making a run of the postseason. I think they'll keep it rolling this weekend. I'm also going to go Mississippi State. Ain't no way Mississippi State's losing at the dude, Ole Miss. There's just no way. Ain't no way it's happening.
No way playing this loose.
No way it's happening. Our guy, Jake McKeever, also going Mississippi State.
I think it's going to come down to rubber match, but it's going to come down to what pitching production, you get on a Sunday from, Carson Ligon and Mason Nichols. I mean, Mason Nichols went 1 2/3 last week against Oklahoma. And I it's just one of those things that, have Mason Morris come out of the bullpen and give you some link from there. But like how the Sunday pitching staff handle is going to come down to deciding what the series is, I think, for me. And I think just, I'm rolling the dice with team playing at home, playing more loose and free than, going on the road.
I like it. Yep. All three of us going Mississippi State.
What's the confidence level in this one?
For me, I'm probably at like a 5.5.
I was going to go 6.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I was just thinking I'm going to be like a chameleon has got like its eyes go all over the place. That's going to be me trying to watch all these freaking series this weekend. We have so many good ones. Final one, Harrison, and contrary to the first prediction graphic we mistakenly put out there, we are not all three going with who we at first said we were. It'll make more sense in a second. Texas A&M hosts the Missouri Tigers. The race, Harrison, to 0-30 is officially on for Mizzou as they come in this weekend 0-24. This is a big weekend for A&M, Harrison, for the standpoint they can get to 13 SEC wins if they can sweep. Why is that significant? Well, if you don't realize, 13 is the magic number. That's the magic number in the SEC. You get to 13 SEC wins, you feel pretty darn good, especially, Harrison, if A&M gets to 13 SEC wins, you got one more regular season weekend remaining. I know you're at Georgia. We'll talk about that next week, but I mean, I think you feel pretty decently. You could at least get one, put yourself at 14 SEC wins with Hoover, and then you feel really good about the fact, hey, we're in the postseason, no doubt, we're good. But you got to take care of business this weekend first. Harrison, we've talked about it. There's just a different pressure now facing Mizzou, where you don't want to be that team, right, that falls and becomes Missouri's first conference win of the season. Obviously, A&M coming off that really emotional series win last weekend against LSU. Your thoughts on the weekend, Harrison? And I think the only question that needs to really be asked, because I'm not going to ask you who your pick is, the question is, does Mizzou get their first SEC win of the 2025 season this weekend at Bluebell?
Chris, I'm going to start by saying I think Missouri scares A&M this weekend.
By the way, he did not say Mizzou beats A&M, unlike, like I mentioned, that graphic we dropped that had all three of us picking Missouri. That would have been a great troll job, though. But no, that was inaccurate.
So. Well, I mean, we had an Arkansas fan tweet out, "What in tarnation?"
I didn't even read the replies. I deleted that. So
that was the only one. But
thank goodness.
That's on you, Fred. I said you got to check the graphic. There's no way.
I know. I was moving too fast.
Yeah, but like I said, I think Missouri goes into the Bluebell and scares A&M this weekend in a sense that they hold their breath in one of the games in which it's close, but A&M pulls away on the backs of Caden Sorrell and co. with Jace Lavalette. But I just don't see a path for Missouri to win a single game here with the starting pitching staff that Texas A&M has, with all three lefties and Ryan Prager, Justin Lamkin, and Miles Patton, and the levels at which they're pitching right now and the bullpen that follows along with them. And I think the rejuvenation of life in the A&M offense, led by Caden Sorrell and taking a lot of the pressure off of Jace Lavalette, who's had his ups and downs, I think a lot more. It hasn't been like up, down, up. It's been like up, down, up, down, up, down. It's been so consistently sporadic. And, there's weekends he's seeing beach balls at the plate, and there's weekends he's hitting bottle caps. Not like a Venezuelan hitting a bottle cap, but like just trying to hit a bottle cap, right? And it's those things. He's just so talented that I think this is a great weekend for him to have a huge series and just get hot right before the end of the regular season and the SEC tournament and postseason. And it is also a must-win, must-sweep series for A&M. Not from a fact that it's Missouri. I think that helps, but it's a fact that these are 3 wins that are, I'm not going to say guaranteed because you can't say that in baseball, but as close to guaranteed in the SEC as you're going to get, and that they have to get to 13 and 14 because, like you said, it sets them up perfectly that if they can win 1, which I expect them, to probably take 1 from Georgia next week, and then go get 1 or 2 in the SEC tournament, that they find themselves in as a 3 seed, and then just be a brutal 3 seed to face for everyone else. It's one of those situations in that, that's the mindset going in. It's like, we are still clawing away, knowing that gets the postseason and it's a new season. And they have the talent that's playing at such a high level and that can play at a high level. They just proved it to us playing against a top 10 team in LSU that we both just picked to beat Arkansas, who we both just said is the most complete and most talented team in the country in the SEC, that just swept the number 1 team in the nation. That's the level at which A&M can play at. And it's been such a slow rise and slow burn. It's been like a fire that just takes forever to light this season for A&M. And I think that they go in and take care of business, Chris. And I think the only one to focus and worry about for Missouri is Jackson Lovich, who is their best hitter and best, I think player by far, leading the offense in feels like almost every category. And I mean, he's double RBIs of everyone else in the team almost. It's pretty crazy. But I think they have a big week and they go take care of business. One game's a little closer than you think, and then the rest of them they just dominate in and pick up 3 wins and a huge sweep in 3 SEC wins that they have to have.
Yeah, I think Mizzou's going 0-30 in conference play. Harrison, I don't really need to spend a ton of time on it as to why.
The under's still going to cash, Chris.
Oh, the unders. Oh yeah. I mean, over under. What was it? 3.5. We said.
I had 4. I had under 4.5. So I had 4.
Yeah, I mean,
is there more pressure on Missouri to go 0-30 now, or more pressure on teams to not lose to Missouri?
I think there's definitely more pressure on teams to not lose because it's like, dude, I've even had LSU fans tell me that even though we just lost 2 of 3 to them, if they lose a game to Mizzou, like the shit talking to whoever loses a game to Missouri.
Every fan base, all 14 of them are going to gang up on A&M.
So relentless. It'll be so relentless. Yeah.
They will never hear the end of it.
Which the irony too, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves with the irony that the first year that all 16 teams make it to Hoover, we might have a Missouri team looking for their first SEC win in the SEC tournament.
Wouldn't that be wild if they got it there?
Yeah, I do not see Missouri winning a game this weekend. I'm just going to say that. All the Aggies out there watching us, I know our guy Gig and Bart's probably on pins and needles wondering if any of us think that they're going to lose it.
Gig and Bart's punching air right now, but don't worry. We're picking A&M. We're gigging them this weekend.
It's not going to happen. I'm going A&M. You're going A&M. Jake McKeever, no surprise, going Texas A&M. Guys, that'll do it for the weekend preview. We've got 8 great series that we'll be keeping an eye on. Don't forget Friday night spikes tomorrow night. Obviously, we'll be talking all the game 1s for Auburn, South Carolina. It'll be game 2. That series might be wrapped up by then. Going to be a really good time. Harrison, let's get into some questions before we get out of here. Start with our guy Hunter with the $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Hunter. Appreciate the love. Says Mizzou should go 0-30. Then they should be thanked by being allowed to win the SEC tournament since they helped so many teams make the NCAA tournament. You think the SEC would just throw it just to get another team in the postseason? We could get 15 of 16 in, just allow Mizzou to make their way. God,
imagine?
That'd be the story of. That'd be the biggest story in the history of college baseball.
That would have
no doubt. Be the biggest story in the history of college baseball.
Or no, Chris, or they got to the championship and lost. Talk about heartbreak.
Yeah. No, I did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Mizzou's awful. Mizzou's terrible.
Chris always stops talking about Missouri just because,
they're just bad. You know, there's not a lot to say with them. I mean, they're just terrible. So, our guy Gig'em Bart in the chat, Gig'em gents, what's up, Gig'em Bart? Good to see you as always. Appreciate you. He wants to know what in tarnation is blueberry sausage.
What in tarnation? That's the name.
Is the blueberry like in the sausage?
Yeah, dude, it's actually really good. I'm a big blueberry guy, but like I was like skeptical at first. It's a sweet sausage. It's not a spicy one. It's this. I mean, we're sitting there in right center field, and these guys are like, "Yeah, we just made a bunch of sausage. You want some?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, I just made some blueberry sausage." I was like, "Okay." Like, I'm not going to say no, especially with the hospitality they provide, but I like blueberries. I like sausage. It was just like a sweet, you kind of get a blueberry sense of the sweetness there. It was really good. I liked it. I would definitely have it again.
Very nice. Let's keep it moving. Our guy Tim says Arkansas sweeps. Count it. Alex Box ain't jack crap compared to Baum Walker. You're an LSU homer. Hey, calling us LSU homers, but you're not an Arkansas homer for saying they go into Alex Box and sweep. Come on.
Of all venues.
Ethan says, I think Vandy is Arkansas of last year. Best pitching in the country, but sooner or later the arms are going to get tired and the bats
won't
be there to bridge the gap. Yeah, I don't think that's unfair.
Yeah, I got one for you. Last time Georgia didn't have a midweek game, we saw what they did on the road to Florida.
That was a long time ago.
Different
that was a long time ago. I mean, yeah. Randy says Arkansas stacked 1 through 9, pitching and smooth in the field. They have the highest ceiling in the league. Yeah, we agree. I mean, I think we both agree with that.
And like I said, Chris, LSU fans will never let it go. Our friend
Daily Joy Foster.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's baseball. Razor thin margins for you, but
they don't want to hear about your hypotheticals, Harrison.
I picked LSU in the box. I picked him, I think, in that series, and I picked him in this series.
By the way, Daily Joy Foster says, go home, Tim, the Arkansas fan. Tim's drunk, she says, saying that Arkansas is going to sweep LSU. Yeah, I'd bet a large sum of money that Arkansas does not sweep this weekend.
Yeah.
Hey, if you think you've seen panic from LSU fans, let Arkansas sweep LSU.
You think losing midweek was panic? Whew.
No, they will be on edge.
I'm just going to run through these real quick to shout out some fan bases. Gig'em. Got a little roll tide action in here.
What's up?
Some Woo Pig
Caleb.
Sue. Some more Gig'em. Hook 'em, baby. Hook 'em.
Yeah, Randy, horns up.
Horns up, baby.
Kyle,
yeah, no, thanks for everyone tuning in.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. We'll close out with this one. Guy Cole Patrick. Rebs take the series for the first time in a decade at the Dude to help secure a host spot. I didn't realize it had been that long. I didn't realize it had been that long since they had won at the Dude. I did not.
I feel much better about my pick even now.
Yeah.
Give me another pick. Look, Chinook decided to join
he snuck in here full.
Look at that.
I got the Tony Stewart shirt on for those that can't say. I got the Bass Pro Shop hat. What incarnation you wearing? I'm about to move to Nashville, man. I'm just kind of getting in the vibe.
Hey, Chris, just think. Chinook enters the chat at the very last minute of the show, and we didn't have any technical difficulties on your end.
None. Yeah. I mean,
saying.
Dude, I mean, listen, we haven't had camera issues on my end in a little bit. I don't know if I finally figured something out or what, but.
Just saying, but glad you could join us.
Hey, listen. Get hot, stay hot. We're also
right time to do it, baby. Right time.
We're also rounding into postseason form, if you will. So playing our best ball or having our best shows or being on our game at the best time of the year. So anyways, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Truly, we're having a blast, and it's just crazy to think that this is the second to last weekend. Only one more of these here, so we'll preview a regular season weekend, and then we will be in Hoover, Alabama Guys, in case you did not know, everything is booked. We will be there, myself and Harrison. Harrison coming on the road with us Monday through Friday. We will be in town. Going to be a lot of fun. More details on that as we get closer, but really, really excited for that. Don't forget, Friday Night Spikes tomorrow night. You can probably expect us, I'd probably say in that 9 Eastern, 8 Central slot again, something like that.
I'm going to try to hop on. I'm going to be coming straight off of calling Georgia Tech Louisville.
Oh, that's right. Okay. How about that? Good for you. Good for you.
Hey, big series for the Jackets at home. Wherever David Speaks is. Big series for the Jackets.
Louisville. Okay. Okay. Well, hey, listen, y'all might get a lot of me solo dolo again. So I don't mind. Leave your questions. We'll shoot the shit.
If you want an update on the ACC, I can give you one after Friday night.
Yeah, shoot the shit. Have a good time. Yeah, we'll have Harrison jump on later, and I think Jake McKeever's a TBD also. We got 2 TBAs.
Boots on the ground.
Boots are on the ground. That's what happens when boots get on the ground. So my boots will be on the ground, packing up, getting ready for a move. So anyways, though, Friday Night Spikes will be happening. Again, really excited for that. And obviously we'll be back on Monday to break down what took place over the weekend. Going to be an electric weekend, though. And if you're at an SEC baseball game this season enjoying, if you're not, go to one.
Hey,
go find one.
Hey, tweet us your pictures if you're at games.
Yeah,
let us know where you're at watching ball, and we'll love to see it. I'm excited to see it too.
Yeah, go get there. Why not? Guys, again, appreciate you all tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, where we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Harrison Fant, I'm Chris Phillips. This is the Windup SEC Unfiltered bi-weekly college baseball show, the best college baseball show on the internet. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you all tomorrow night on Friday Night Spikes.